we have Samantha Smith. You'll hear me refer to her as Sam. And she runs their marketing team. And I thought it would be fun to give you all of these different angles of people and different roles around the company, because people start to say, oh yeah, culture, that's an HR initiative, or culture has nothing to do with HR. That's only what happens out in the business. So no matter what side of that fence you're on, you get to see lots of different angles at J2C. And I've been saying jobs to careers, but J2C. Is that what internally you
Internally. That's the slang.
That's your slang. And you have to have team slang to have a team culture.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing about culture here?
I would say that we try and do things differently. We're very opposed to, we've always done it that way. And one of the things I like is that Bruce, our CEO, and the management team really want to hear what the employees have to say. I believe that Bruce's philosophy would be that you hire good people and that the success of your company is mostly dependent on your team. And one of the things that I like is Bruce does a CEO Circle program. And what that is every quarter he will give us a business challenge that he's facing. It could be what to name a new product, or it could be how to brand us in a creative way. And it has to be easy to implement and inexpensive and solve a problem. And every quarter somebody wins it, 3 people actually. And when you win it, you get to go to a family event with Bruce and his wife and 2 kids. You get a $1,000 bonus, and you get a chance to implement your program. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite examples is our social ambassador program. And that was the answer to a question of how do we maintain our culture as we grow? Because we've just about doubled employee headcount year over year for the past 4 years. So how do you keep the culture of a small company when you get big? And so the social ambassador program is run by one of our client success analysts. And basically, when there's a new person that starts, it's you get a schedule to have lunch with a new person. So they get to have lunch with somebody from a different department every day. So it's not, you're just going to a lunchroom and here's 80 people that you don't know. You have somebody to sit with.
Feels like high school again, with a tray where you're walking around going,
yeah.
Where do I sit?
Yeah, exactly. And so we don't want anyone to feel that way, and we want them to know us, and we want engineers and marketing and sales and HR to all eat lunch together and, not get too cliquey. So
do you even mix up in this social calendar, you're mixing up the functional groups so that they're meeting people from other areas?
Absolutely.
Ooh, I like. And when you first said it, I'm thinking marketing, I'm thinking social, as in social media. So I expected your answer to be about something to the external world. I love hearing that this is an internal, how you get to know each other and work with each other.
Definitely. One thing I think is cool is that when I started with Jobs to Careers, we had 40-some people, and now I think we're 90 plus. And I think I still pretty much know everybody's name. Which I've worked at companies much smaller, I couldn't say that about.
Yeah, it says something about people really caring about each other, and you can't make somebody care about each other. What are the things that happen here that allow that environment to happen? Because I could certainly see that in a room of essentially every employee. There are really deep relationships that you can tell it's different from those who, that's that guy in accounting who I don't know. How does that happen here?
It does feel different than other places, and I've thought about why. And I think a big factor is that we all eat together every day. And every afternoon at 3:30, we have tea time, which is a 20-minute break to not let your blood sugar dip too much. And you get to mingle outside if it's nice with people in other departments. And so we really all do know a lot about each other. And that helps when you need to ask for someone's assistance with something or somebody comes to you. And it also helps that we know what everybody does. Because, sometimes we'll talk about work at lunch and people know what everyone's role is. It's never like, I don't know who you are or what you do. That doesn't really happen.
That's just that lady with brown hair over there. I've seen her around, but I have no idea. Right. So when you were talking about the CEO circle, did I get the terminology right? Okay. You mentioned the brand as one of the examples, maybe how you bring the brand to life. I love that there were constraints in it too. Cheap to implement, those sorts of things. That's cool. So that made me think about branding and how many companies I work with are trying, I'm sure listeners are feeling this way, we want to have an employment brand. We want to be known for something to candidates. We want to be an employer of choice. We want to be a place that people want to come work. Then there's the other side of branding that the typical marketing person would be focused on, your company brand and the brand personality traits. They seem very aligned here. So how does that all come together from your perspective?
Well, our mission statement is innovating the way employers effectively find talent, and that talent effectively finds employers. So we're helping both sides of the coin there. And there's the key word of innovating, which is that we want to do employee branding differently, and we also want to do searching for a job and hiring differently. This company is only 5 years old, so it's not a legacy brand that you have to give a facelift to. We could start something new and it wouldn't affect any existing business. And even for a simple example, expense reports, they're really easy to do. We've got software to do them. It's not a lot of cutting and pasting, and it works quickly. And that's just an example of something that it doesn't get bogged down in red tape.
And if you're going to make simplicity a key part of your mission statement, you want to live it out and model it in everything you do, and you really do it.
There is efficiency all the time, even as simple as dishes are piling up next to the sink. Let's put a basket there if the dishwasher's full. And it sounds silly, but in a big office, little things like that help.
And I would imagine they would start to be the small things that create a culture, because just like when you walk into a public restroom and you see trash all over the place, similarly, if you start to see dishes all over the place, then people don't care about the space as much. And so having solutions all the time, coming up with solutions for things and being efficient and being simple, it does feel like it's really built into what you do here.
It does.
Another thing we've talked about outside of the interview is perks. So let's actually talk about some of the perks you actually have, because this is a typical go-to for culture. People go, okay, it's a tech company, let's make some cool company perks. Those do attract people, and it has to go beyond that. So talk a little bit about what perks you do have. You've mentioned lunch every day.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And tea time, pretty cool. What else? And then how do you go beyond that?
Well, we have everything we need here. We have lunch, we have tea time, we have coffee, and its purpose is to make us work more efficiently. So we have everything we need, and we don't want for anything here. But I would say that beyond the perks, there's the cultural perks too, like to always learn and to try new ideas and to communicate. And one of my favorite things that Bruce says is to allow for interruptions. And so what that means to me is, like a C-level officer, you can just go in their office and ask them something. And if somebody comes to you, it's sort of the same expectation. So really being transparent, I think that says a lot about our culture beyond, of course, we have a ping pong table and we have a beautiful office space in the hill country and we see rainbows out there.
That's a great view.
Yeah, and we grill steaks out there sometimes. And, there's those moments like, wow, this is...
Like every Friday?
Yeah, maybe. And so there's these moments like, wow, we were really well taken care of. But I think the part that I feel luckiest about is that I work with such a smart group of people. I mean, the process is rigorous to be hired here, but it's worth it because there are no weak links. And it's really amazing to work that way.
That makes a big difference in culture. Let's end there with a little more specific look at people and how they come into the role that they're doing and even how work is assigned. So something I've noticed, for example, working with Callie, that she's just so energetic. It seems like everybody I interact with via email, they love what they do. And it's not just, I don't want to make the cliche comment about passion because I feel like there's a lot of explanation that needs to happen beyond that. But the energy that people bring to the work and the graciousness that people work with each other with, and it feels like, I would say, gratitude and appreciation is really flowing in a way where people seem appreciative about what someone else is doing with them or for them, and that it makes them more excited to do what they do. So what happens from you being a people manager when you're trying to imagine, how do I take this person, know their skills and interests, and align them to what puts them at their best so that kind of energy can actually show up at work? Because it's showing up all over the building.
Well, one thing that's neat about how fast we're growing is it gives you room to change your job. For instance, we had an account executive who became a sales manager, who then became a sales operations manager. We've had people transfer departments. And so because we're growing so quickly, these new avenues open up. And if you really jump on them and own them, then you can have that. And then somebody else will do the other part. So everyone is passionate because you kind of get to choose your job to a certain extent. And there's always support from management, but there's not necessarily, okay, this is what you need to do every day. So when I started my job, nobody told me, okay, so for marketing materials, we're going to focus on doing case studies and doing content marketing and get our blog redesigned. No one told me that. It's just you see a need and you go for it. And then you see that there's value to it. If you go into your manager's office and have an idea that's going to bring value, they'll let you do it.
Yeah, I love it. And we have a lot of listeners who are at tech companies, and that's an environment they'll be able to really touch and feel. And then also have a lot of listeners who work for big companies and add maybe a couple or a few zeros to the head count. For that person, just to go out on an idea of what could they do so it's going to feel more bureaucratic, a little less able to just say, oh my gosh, I can craft my job. What advice would you give for somebody who's a manager at a company where they're a little more mature in the business so things don't change as fast and they're trying to blaze a trail as a manager and create their own team culture?
I mean, I would say don't underestimate the power of going out once a quarter for a department event. We just did that recently with marketing. We did Build Your Own Terrarium, which is a thing in Austin. And there were about 12 of us, and we built our own little plants in this jar. And, we thought, what an interesting idea. What's that going to be like? And it was so fun. But that's something that's simple that just shows that you care about getting to know people outside the office. And I think that really says it all, is just that you value somebody more than what they're producing. One of, I think, the best benefits at Jobs to Careers is management training. It started with our CEO, Bruce, doing management training session every 2 weeks. And of course, that's how we met you. We have guest speakers once a month. And there's something about being in a room with all of your colleagues during company time where that's an hour and a half or 2 hours where you're not producing work for the company. Bruce is investing in us. And there's something about feeling that value that's very flattering and very motivating.
Yeah, it really intrigued me. It's the only company that I've worked for where they call it management training. That you use that terminology because you hear that in any other company, that means people managers only. And it gets referenced a lot by employees, by managers, and it really is, it's like the personal leadership development that everybody here wants for everybody else. I love the tone that it sets, and it says this isn't an exclusive way of thinking. This is how we can all grow the company together.
I think Bruce sees everybody as future managers.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way of seeing people's capabilities and then letting those programs start to bring that out in people.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you
for the interview. It was lots of fun. Yeah, I'm sure we'll do something else again. And next up, we will bring you a peek from some other people at Jobs to Careers.